Welcome to The Author Next Door, where hosts Angela Haas and Cassie Newell chat about the wild world of writing and publishing. Join them for weekly episodes and special monthly guests. Pull up a chair. The conversation starts now.
Welcome to episode 47. I'm Angela Haas, and I'm here with my co-host, Cassie Newell. And this month, we're talking hot topics. Today's episode will be sort of a writer beware, one where we look at scams and bad actors in general that you might encounter in the industry. When you're just starting out as an indie author, no one quite prepares you for the amount of spam, scams, and general sources of mistrust out there. We're going to share a little bit about what we've learned along the way that can help you differentiate from what will help your career and what might set you back. So, also, I am not wearing a sweatshirt that just says hopeless. Those of you who can see, it says hopeless romantic. It's cutting me off. So, well, I am kind of hopeless, but Cassie, welcome. What have you noticed out there? Or was there a scam that really fooled you at first when you were just starting, not
When I was
as you are
just
now?
starting, I don't know that there was a scam, but I was like a particular scam per se. But I got a lot of, especially if you decide to go the social media route in Instagram, I got a lot of the let my team review your book for $90 and like do all the, reviews and things. And I would just kindly reply, I'm not in the business to pay for reviews. I'm not. That's a decision I made for myself. I know other authors do that, and I will do that for arcs and book launching where I'm building a team and I'm using a service in order to do that. This is more individualized where you're just kind of getting direct DMs back in the day, but now these people have gotten so savvy, they find your email now and they contact you via email through your website, contact page, and other things. And most recently, you and I went through this with our podcast. I was like, I don't know how this person found this email for me, but it looked like they had talked to you, and it was really kind of quirky. And I don't trust, and I know a lot of people use Gmail as their business, but I don't trust gmail.com. So I tend to, like, unless I know it's associated with the podcast or something specific, I tend to avoid them, to be quite honest. I'm looking for people with their website.com because that just tells me, it's more associated to a business. And even then you still have to be wary because you don't know that all businesses are trustworthy. But yeah, I think that was like the first thing that I kind of learned out the gate was when you start to get a little bit of a social media presence, it's like the people come out in droves, trying to up their businesses. And I'm happy to support small businesses, but it just kind of gave me the ick factor. It was a lot of pay us $120 and we'll get you thousands of reviews and new followers. And I got to a point where I was like, absolutely no, this is my standard. I may grow and I may grow at a turtle's pace, but that's the way I choose to do it because I really want an authentic audience. I don't just want bots. I don't
Yeah.
want just bot reviews. I want to know how to improve myself too as a writer.
Well, you
So,
want to
what about
connect
you?
you want to know that you connected with a real reader too. That's
Yeah,
what a
right?
review is. Whether it's good or bad, you still want to know that it's real. It's a real person that read your
Exactly.
book. So,
Wha
yeah,
What
I
about
mean,
you when you first started on your first book? Like, what was the first thing that came out
it was
at
the
you?
it was the emails that started to be like, I've read First Strike, and they give you a summary. And
Yeah.
then they say, we would love to take this to the next level. I even got one that was a Hollywood film studio. And we all love to be flattered, right? We love to
Yeah.
feel like, oh my God,
I mean,
my first
yeah.
book and a movie studio already wants it. but I'm already a suspicious person. I actually don't trust things off the bat. It takes me a while. So, you can tell too by things to look for in the email. So it'll always like have a summary, like it's read your book, but that's just an AI summary that it's scraping off the internet. It'll give you details that might be found in your blurb or something on your website or even
Right.
a social media post. And it'll kind of put that all together to make you think that this person has read your book and is really interested in taking it to the next level, whatever that is. But you look at the email address. Sometimes it's easy in that it's some weird email address, or the name in the email address is different from the name of the sender and different from the name in the sign off. Or the sign off will say, you know, the person's name, it'll look like a real email signature stamp,
Right.
but then it'll say like bookmarketing.com. Well, no one's website is bookmarketing.com. Not really.
Yeah.
And I looked up their Hollywood studio, and actually it was a real place. But when I actually looked up on the website, the staff, I couldn't find this producer. So
Yeah.
that's what can kind of fool you in that they may be using real places, real references, but it's still fake. The one that's been throwing me that I've been getting a lot that at first I thought was real, it's an author, a fellow author that emails me on my contact form and says, "Hey, my name is so and so, and I write children's books, and I'm always wanting to connect with authors. Tell me a little bit about your journey. I just really want to connect with you." So I got that one and I was like, huh. And it had the picture, and I looked it up on Amazon and it had the person's books and it was a real person, but I didn't respond. And that's sometimes how they get you. Just replying can expose your email to hackers and bots and malware. But then I got another one from another lady, a romance author, and she has a real page on Amazon. I've seen her books. And she said, but the language was the same. I really am looking to connect with authors on their journey. Can you tell me a little bit, blah, blah, blah? Same language as the other guys. So I was like, okay, so this is a new scam. These people are stealing real authors' profiles and their book names and then trying to get you to respond by thinking it's a real author that wants to connect with you. And they're not nothing against these authors, but they weren't like super best-selling authors. They were sort of just in the middle lane and had some reviews, but not great rankings. And I'm wondering if that's their target. They're targeting people kind of
In the
in
same.
that tier so
Mhm.
that it doesn't look like a celebrity's contacting you or a new author. It's kind of an
You'd be
established
more
author.
trusting or what have you, or
Yeah.
something to that effect.
So delete those because really,
Yeah.
if an author really wants to connect with you, I would think that they would message you on social media. Even those can be fake, but I don't know. Have you ever reached out blindly to another author to say, I want to connect with you and tell me about your journey?
No, not like that. No.
Yeah.
Like,
No.
and that would be a little bold for me. And even with my Clifton strengths of being high command, that's still pretty bold. I'd rather, and I have really high relators, so I tend to want to find them through their own communities and join
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
first and be a part of the community before I would ever reach out. For example, there's this one author, I've been a fan of hers for a while, but I also don't want to be that creepy person to like
Right.
be like a
Right.
Kathy Bates or something. I'm your biggest fan. That's kind of a little off-putting at first. But I saw that she's also doing things for authors. And so I joined her Patreon, because A, I like what she does. it supports her. I'm learning stuff and I'm being introduced to other authors and things like that. So, I mean, it's just kind of, again, I'm a turtle. It's just a slow roll for me to build that up. I'm not one to immediately reach out usually, but I did that with Sasha actually. And then I learned about her Patreon and I was like, oh, I hope she doesn't feel like I'm stalking her and this is weird, but I feel this connection and I like what she's doing and I'm learning so much. But again, I reached out, found out where her community was, and she pointed me in the direction and I joined, and then,
Yeah.
I got involved with the community and other people and things just happen naturally. And it is a little unnerving being an author and we talk so much about community. And it's like, well, how do you get in? Like, it's always those things. How do you find them? How do you find the right fit? And how do you get in? There is a little bit of boldness there, but I also think, it is a little bit of buyer beware too, because, there are a lot of people out there that don't have the best intentions and they're trying to sell you a bunch of stuff. Maybe there are great things that you want and need, but then there's the opposite, is true. So I just think you have to have that gut sense, the ick sense. Like, would you want a bunch of people coming up to you going, oh my God, I'm your biggest fan and this, and this, and I want to know this, I'd be kind of like, well, let's slow our roll, just a little
Yeah.
bit. So I get to know you. Yeah, I really like interacting with the community that I have that's been building over the last year. But yeah, I don't know. What about you? How would you feel if
Oh,
somebody
well, I would never go and just find an author and try to email them unless, okay, here's the only story that I did think about. So I told you this, but I was on jury duty recently and I'm just sitting there and they're calling a bunch of names and then they call Rebecca Yaros. And I was like, is that hello? I was looking around and I'm like,
you're
is
like
that
the
the
exact
Rebecca?
same,
Hello?
person, it's not
Could
like a
that be?
John Smith name, it's pretty
Yeah.
specific. Yeah.
Well, I know that she lives or has a home somehow in my town, but I was like, and I looked and I was like, that's her. And then, of course, I was texting you and CJ and all the writers groups like, hello, there's Rebecca Yaros is standing right over there and we're in the same jury pool. What do I do? And everyone was like, well, go talk to her and go tell her to be on your podcast. And I thought, no, I'm usually pretty bold, but I'm not that bold in that.
In that context, right? This is government
Right.
service. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a little odd too, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, plus it was a sensitive case and I just was like feeling weird about it. So, but then I thought, well, I would maybe email her and just say, I was sitting behind you in the jury and you've inspired me and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And so, I don't know. I thought about doing that, but I'm sure I'm a fan. I'm coming more as like, I'm a fan of your
Dan.
books. And I'm sure authors like that are super used to fans reaching out to them. So I would say if I'm a fangirling over a fellow author, I would approach it like that. Like, I love your books. I read them all the time. You've inspired me, but not really expecting them
Anything
to
out of it.
respond. Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
only thing I've ever thought about. But yeah.
Yeah.
No, I would never just find an author on Amazon and then it would be a very purposeful email if I did. I wouldn't just like cold call them
Right.
and say, tell me about your writing journey. Just let's be friends. No, I just feel
Yeah.
like that would be
It's
weird.
it's a little much when you don't know someone. Like it was funny. I went to Tennessee LitCon as a reader on my journey this past summer and or fall. And one of the ladies who was a volunteer was like, I was in your art group, and I read this and that. And I was like, wait a minute, I recognize her username, but I didn't recognize her name. It was a different handle. I was like, oh, I would love to meet you. But A, she's part of my newsletter. She knows things that I say. And, like it's different versus just some person I have no context with whatsoever, I've never communicated with. At
Yeah.
least we had a chat going a few
Yeah.
times, in social
Yeah.
media on Instagram. So there was a connection, versus just cold turkey.
Right.
It's different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a different feeling.
Yeah. So authors, be wary of your email box. Not everything gets filtered into junk because people are really doing well at making things look legitimate. So always, before you reply, especially, always do a little bit of research, and I would sit on it if it's something outside the norm. But what about, there's so many DMs and emails where people are saying, I'll review your book. And you touched on this, but have you ever paid for a review? Even
Not a,
through, I mean, there
not
are
just,
legitimate sites like Kirkus, and I want to talk about that. Forward
yeah.
Clarion, you can get a trade review, but those are very expensive. Have you ever paid to have your book reviewed?
No, I just go through services. So,
Yeah.
I've used Grace Promotions,
Hmm.
and I used it right off the bat because I had no ARC team. I needed to find readers, and I had a few people on my newsletter, but Angela, you're my friend. Matthew, you're my friend. Like I needed
Right.
people outside of my bubble, to build my newsletter. So I did pay for that service. And then, I paid for a PA to help me build and continue to build. And I pay for Book Sirens, which is also an ARC service. It doesn't guarantee anybody will read my book, but I needed to continue to build. So those are the things I invest in, is more service oriented. They never tell me I'm going to get X reviews. They hope that I will get a certain percentage, grays and some of the really specific ARC services of what you're trying to gain through their services, because they want to do good work too. And they've curated a big library of readers, but they can't guarantee it either. Readers, we're temperamental creatures. Depends on what we're looking for and all the things. But no, to have somebody individually come to me and say, I will review your book for X fee, would say, no, I'm not accepting paid reviews at this time. You're more than welcome to apply for my ARC team or my ALC team when it's open. And they're vetted people. I did open it up recently to try to expand my viewership, but again, even then, I can't guarantee they're going to like my book. I had people come in, but I told them too in my forum, like, if you're signing up to my newsletter. You recognize this. Yes, you have to click yes, or you're not on my team. And I also am looking at, where they review, what they're trying to do, if they have a platform, things like that. I mean, I try to do the best, things I've learned over the years and building an ARC team so that it's just not a public free for all, because that doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve my ARC team, especially any influencers that happen to be on my teams. So I do vet it. Yeah, I just don't pay for it. What about you?
We have only, because I wanted to try everything when I was first starting, I was like, I'm going to try everything. I'm going to experience everything. I wouldn't say I'd advise people doing that, but I did learn a lot through doing that. So I did try Kirkus reviews twice because what I was told is that it does give you some clout to have open your book and there's a Kirkus review. And what Kirkus does is they will then advertise. You can then buy an advertising package if you like
Yeah.
their review, and then they put it out in newsletters in their book and their
Isn't that
marketing.
similar to NetGalley too?
Yes, but Kirkus I feel like is a lot more expensive because I think the reviews, depending on if you get a promotion or not, are $500 to $700. The first one was great. I actually got a lot that I could use out of that review. But the second review was just a summary of my book. It was just regurgitating the plot. And so there wasn't any catchphrases or anything that I could use that sounded
Oh,
like a
no.
review. And it was just really disappointing. But now I don't want to speak ill of Kirkus because I think it is good to invest in if you might be going the traditional route because they work with a lot of traditionally published authors and they have, I don't want to say they have ins, but that's just they work with that level of author. So if you're thinking about doing that, having a book that's going in with a Kirkus review, that might help you. I don't know if it will,
I
but
think
that
it's
may be.
also better if you're more literary and depending on your genre. Because
Yeah.
for me, I mean, I've said it, I'll say it again. I'm a B author. I'm okay with that. I like entertainment. I'm not going to win any major awards being a B author, probably. My mindset is just kind of set there. But like to me, a Kirkus review would be a waste of money for
Yeah.
me, you know?
And
But if
this is
I
tied,
was to try something more literary or
right.
absolutely, yes, go get that,
Yeah.
you know?
They do like, and
But
this was my sci fi stuff. They do like sci fi,
yeah.
they do
Mm.
romance, but then you have to then pay for their advertising package. So this goes back
On
to,
top of it, so an
yes,
additional fee.
a big additional fee. Yeah. So you get your review, and then they say, well, now that you qualified, if you want to, it's you're paying for placement in their magazine and on their website.
Oh,
And depending the level, you're buying an ad, and that's what, like advertising in magazines and websites, that's expensive. That's
right.
on top of the review if you liked their review. So, yes, there is some clout, but I won't ever do it again just because I don't think it really for the money. It didn't really open any doors for me.
Mhm.
And then I remember paying for, I think it was a Blue Ink review. Now, this is just one person's experience. Many people have done Blue Ink reviews and have gotten great reviews and had a great experience. I got the reviewer that was so angry that I didn't explain the physics of all my stuff very well. And that was the complaint about not explaining why there's acid rain and saying my villain's cartoonish. And it was a horrible, scathing review, which
Ouch.
I agree with that. If you're paying, you don't want a fake good review. However, I couldn't use it. So I wasted, in my opinion, $500 for this person to tell me my book is trash. I don't think that's appropriate. They could have given me something and it was scathing. And it was just a person who didn't understand my genre. They read hard sci-fi because my book coach went to bat for me because she recommended them, and we went back and forth with Blue Ink, and we finally got them to not publish that review. But this person reads hard sci-fi, well, mine's superhero, so the villains are kind of cartoonish because they're based on comic books. I mean, the villains are always
Yeah.
outlandish and crazy.
They're
So
stereotypical. That's the
right.
point.
That's
Yeah.
that's the point. And
Yeah.
where she was reading, she just wanted something really gritty and hard sci-fi. But if you're reading that then that's your responsibility to say, this really isn't the
For
genre I
me,
read, so I need to find a different reviewer. But again, if you're a newer author and not looking to try to publish, I would not pay that much money to risk them not giving a good review you can use. It's just another cost. It's better invested in somewhere else. It
could
doesn't
use that
really fit
money.
as a scam, but it goes in with like, there's so many other ways to get reviews for your books. That it's my opinion, and I think you'll agree, you do not need to pay people to review your book, bottom line.
No.
Yeah.
No. I think what you wanna pay for is visibility to find your
Right.
readers, to be
Yeah.
able to encourage in your back matter and things of that nature to review your book. I see a lot of authors, and I've learned over the years to be better at optimizing my back matter and really
Mhm.
leading people and
Yeah.
making it easy for a one-click type of thing, because if you make it hard for readers, and I'm one of those people too, I'm so guilty. If I'm on my Kindle and I don't have the link, your review's
Yeah.
gonna sit in my mind space until I have the time to remember. And good luck with that, because I'm off to the races half the time. So, like, make it easy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, if you want to invest, and this is the other thing, well, I know we both used written word media,
Yeah.
promotional services where you can offer your book for free or 99 cents for a period of time, and they'll blast it out for you and promote it. Now you get orders of your book, but you also get reviews out of those. So
Yeah.
you're not paying specifically for the reviews, but people will download your book in mass amounts. Then I've noticed every time I've paid for a written word media promo stack, I've got a huge boost in reviews. So, and they really target your genres. You pick your genre, you promote, you offer your book free for 1, 3, 5 days. They blast it out to their free, people have signed up for their free newsletter sites and newsletter emails, and then you get a ton of downloads. And so from there, you get reviews. So that's another good way to
Right.
do it, but you've got to be wary of those. There's all
Yeah.
kinds of things that say, well, we're a promo site and we'll promote your book for you, not just saying reviews, but promotion. And it's a scam. So,
So let's talk about like a security checklist for authors,
yeah,
because really you need to think about really vetting companies, seeing who else is using them, talk to your author community. I also think things like your password hygiene is what I call it, is important. I have changed my password to pretty much every social media because I use an app called Dashlane, and it's so encrypted. Like, nobody's going to guess this 26 letter number
right.
symbol password. And if you do, you're amazing. But I get it changed quite a bit. Like, if I get
Hmm.
any wind of anything going awry, I change my password. I am
Right.
I am one of those people. I also think it's important for domain ownership. Like, when you know you're moving forward in publishing, or you want to tag on your series in your website, domain it. Domains are real estate. Own your real estate. It's like owning your IP for your ISBN. I think it's fine when you're starting out, and if you're going in Kindle Unlimited, to utilize the things from Amazon that they provide for you. Myself, I have this theory that no, I want to own my IP and my ISBN, and I want to be in control of where it is at all times. So that's my thought process. Other countries, you don't have to pay for it. In the US, you do. I also think copyright registration's good. However, in the US, as soon as you have your intellectual property, it is copyrighted. You do not have to register it. I think it's a good idea. I haven't done it all the time, but it is important to know the difference. And you also need to know the difference between global registration and US registration. And then I think just having good record keeping of what you're doing. I think the other thing with, but, kind of author beware, is sometimes we get driven to do things out of FOMO. Like, it's like the thing of, oh my god. I mean, I do it too. You are not the only one guilty. Angela's raising her hand if you're not watching us via video. I do it too. I mean, the first thing I did when I saw people having their own stores was like, do I want to invest in Shopify? I wonder if it doesn't even work for me. So I think the thing with those things is you have to find what you're comfortable with and dipping your toes in. I decided I wanted to try PayHip. It didn't cost me anything. I could see if it was worth the juice worth the squeeze, for me right now. And it's really not right now. So I haven't wasted a ton of time or a ton of effort. But it is available to the readers that want to support me in that way, which is beautiful when a few books sell. But like, I think sometimes we see things and that FOMO kicks in. Like, I have FOMO right now with audiobooks. so bad. And I'm like, why am I investing all this money? It's not paying off quite yet. And then I'm exclusive to Amazon. Was that a smart decision? So I'm starting to think, no, maybe I take these new ones and not do that. And I have the option of pulling them out and trying other platforms. But then again, I'm like, Audible is the largest audio book globally, actually. So why am I pulling that out? Like, FOMO is so real.
Mhm.
And yeah, you can certainly be duped as a result of that. So really evaluate those things is what I would say from kind of a checklist standpoint. What would you add to that checklist, Angela?
Well, I would probably, just because the cost isn't that much, I will register every book with a copyright office just because, the lawsuit against Anthropic, my book was on a pirated site, but this is also goes to writer beware. I mean, at some point, your books may be pirated, and there are also scam services that will say, well, we'll help you if your book was pirated and we'll scan things and let you know. And I don't know if paying
Yeah.
for that at this time is worth it. My All my books were on pirated sites. My first book, First Strike, the day it was published, it was downloaded on a pirated dark website.
Aren't you kind of like, how does this happen? Like,
It
do you think it's
just
an ARC reader or somebody that
No,
you're just like,
no,
what? How did this
no.
happen?
It's not an arc
Drives me
reader.
nuts.
It is the culture of the pirates, those pirates. They sit there in a room with, you're dealing with
They
someone who
must at
has
least purchase one
50.
copy.
No, they don't. Because the whole point of the culture, of the pirating culture, is there's no borders, all access. Everything should be free. Everything. All content should be free and available to everyone. So they don't buy anything. They just skim sites, Amazon especially. They download your book because they can get around everything with their dark web hacking materials. But I just have that one sort of cybersecurity friend who did a search for me, and he's like, yep, it's right here. But thankfully, the hackers didn't like it because there was only 13 downloads. Yes.
My goodness.
So, because they don't like superhero stuff, they like hard sci fi. And actually, the percentage of movies is way higher than
The
pirated books. They
books.
they want
Yeah.
cinema and music. The books is a much lower percentage, but
Yeah.
because I could see that my book was on the LibGen website, and because that book was registered with the Copyright Office, I am eligible for some compensation. Whether that actually happens,
Yeah.
that's up to lawyers. The other thing, authors, is you should register with the Alliance of Independent Authors, ALLI, and they have so many resources for authors.
It
They
is a
have a
paid subscription. I do wanna note
Oh,
that
is
out.
it? Is
Yeah,
it a
it's
paid
not.
subscription?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
I
think
thought
you
it was
can
free to
join,
register.
but if you
Yeah,
wanna be a part of Ally, you have to
okay.
pay, and there's a
I
fee.
just joined. I don't
Yeah,
think
I'm a
paid.
member because I also wanted to take advantage, and it's not an expensive membership. It's really great. If you have anything that you want legal review, they have legal representation, they vet
Yes.
vendors, all the things you're probably
Maybe
gonna
I
say,
did
but
pay
that is
for
a
it.
paid
Okay.
subscription. Yeah.
The only reason I'm saying, even though it's paid, is where I've seen in real time they go to bat for you is if your
Yeah.
Amazon account gets shut down. And I've seen it happen to Zach Boyannon, where he just woke up one day and got a notice from Amazon and everything was gone. All his books, like it was just shut down. And I he was
Oh
messaging
my
us
god, I
in
would
our
panic. I would
oh
be in
God. And
such an
he has
upset.
like 50 books out. I mean, like it was crazy. And he went right to Allie and said, you need to go to bat for me. And they did. And now it's up and running again, thankfully. But now, obviously, there's no guarantees, authors, but it's another layer of protection for you for little cost. And the other database they have that I've referenced several times is if you're looking for a vendor, if you're
Yeah.
thinking about using a vendor or service, they have a whole database of like kind of a writer beware service, and they have that all laid out for you. So you can find anything, book cover designers, editors,
Right.
all kinds of things. But
Great.
just, if something doesn't feel like, if you get a DM, do a little Google search. Is this real? Is this a scam? What's going to pop up too is Reddit forums. Those are sometimes a great way to see what other people are saying. You can even join like Reddit writers groups and forums, and then you get a lot of that. I see a lot of it on threads where people will post a scam. Even the other day, our friend who was on this podcast, Amy Van Sant, who runs the email list building service, she posted about a new scam where it said, join my private chat or my Discord group.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
I saw that
inviting
one.
you to groups,
Yeah.
and it's not a real group. It's just trying to get your information.
Yeah.
So just better safe than sorry on a lot of those things. Yeah. And even conventions, right? You've got
Yeah.
to vet conventions and
Mhm.
conferences now.
And it's tough because as a new author, you're more likely to be accepted in a new convention than an established one that's been around for years because they get the big, big names unless you're selling and you're just doing great. And you have to apply a year in advance in most cases. And so it's really tough, but you really have to use your gut. Cause like the Tennessee LitCon, for example, it was only, I think, the first year. And I went, but I went as a reader. I
And
didn't
check
have
it
the
out.
opportunity to apply,
Right.
at that time, but I did apply for the second year. I don't know if I'll get in, but I mean, it was ran beautifully, and so many people were attending and you could see really well named people that were attending. So
Yeah.
it's tough, but it's hard too when you're brand new to get into those things. So you have to be fairly established sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but even like, what was it? The Readers Take Denver. That one was
Oh,
a nightmare because I think that's the one where authors, like books went missing. People were stealing boxes of books that authors were going to sell. Uh, they oversold tickets to where Rebecca Yarros was going to be and then didn't tell anyone. And then people couldn't get in. And so it's not, even established ones can have a year of like maybe they've switched leadership and then it's just like run into the ground. So,
that's
authors,
tough.
the takeaway is just before you sign up, before that FOMO gets you, as Cassie mentioned, that we all have, where you're like, I want to be a part of something, take a beat, sleep on it. Don't buy anything for 24 hours. That's what Becca Syme has always advised. Do a little research. You know, Readers Take Denver reviews or information. And then if you Google search, it'll pull up what people said on threads, on social media, other social media. See what people are saying. And then if it's really good feedback, if you can look and recognize speakers and presenters and authors, then I think it's okay. But I think I think the bottom line, right, is doing a lot of research, right? Is that how you, is that like
Yeah,
the biggest
research,
takeaway?
word of mouth is really important to me. If I know other authors are doing something or have done it, and I know them, I may reach out to them, but yeah, just seeing. So, I mean,
Yeah.
you don't have to do research for weeks or whatever.
No, just a quick.
Yeah, but I think, just like buying anything,
Mhm.
weigh the pros and cons. I mean, it's no different. This is no different. And people prey on creative types by flattery, and it'll get you every time sometimes. So just be aware of those things. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's also, just for people listening, we won't go too much into it, but there's also fake book awards too. There's do a search of like the best book awards to apply to that will also be on the Alliance of Independent Authors site. But you'll see some legitimate sites that say these are the best ones to enter into. And some, again, you may win, you may not, but again, that's another cost going back to what we talked about in our first episode this month. Those are other hidden costs. You may
Right.
apply for all these awards, not get anything, and then how much money did you actually spend? Is it worth it? So
Yeah, we
those are
need
just
to
things to think about.
expend it maybe on advertising or further
Yeah.
reach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does it make a difference to you if a book has had an award or not, whether you buy it?
No, because that's like telling me the only movies I like have won Academy Awards, and most of
Right.
my favorite movies
Have
have
not.
never been up for an Academy Award.
Yes.
So, no.
Exactly.
Yes
Nope.
and no. I mean, sometimes it'll draw my attention, but if I read what it's about and I'm like, "Nah, I'm not in the mood for" so no, not really.
Well,
Yeah.
I think good discussion, hopefully helping people out there better protect themselves and their business. What about personal updates, viral moments, connecting with a reader that felt good? What about you?
Oh, I had a recent moment with a reader that asked me if I wanted to collaborate and do this fun thing for her on her birthday. And we got it all set up. And I'm just really excited to be able to do that for her. And she's been a subscriber and on my team and part of my community since the beginning. So, absolutely. I love being able to do that. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So, I'm really excited about that, and I hope it goes well for her. Yeah.
Awesome. Yay. Well,
Yay.
I think I have an audiobook coming out soon. So that'll be my first romance audiobook. So that'll be great. And officially have December 3rd as my launch for No Climb Too High. So that is official. That's going out with
Well, that's
Graves Promotions right
exciting.
now. Yeah. So doing a
Gosh,
cover
my book
reveal soon. Yeah.
yeah. So, I have my holiday, book that came out. It's for my holiday matchmaker series, and it's called Holiday Hearts Unwrapped. So, I'm
So
really excited
exciting.
about
So
that
good.
starting, and then the next book comes out mid-December, and then the next book in January, which seems so surreal. Like
That's
book
so
after book,
crazy.
but again, it's not the same as novels. They're very short. They're
Yeah.
short 2-hour reads. So it's I don't know. I love it. Little palate cleansers when you need something fast and you just want to sit down and read and add to your reading goals and things like that.
Yeah. They're so great. All right.
Thank you.
Ready? Okay. We're doing let's call this a hot seat question, I guess.
Okay.
Tales. It's our tales. It's our new game. Tell me about your parents' hometowns. What are some unique aspects of their cultures or communities?
Interesting.
Where did your
Um,
parents grow up?
this is a hard question. Well, I my dad my dad grew up in Jasper, Tennessee, was born in a log cabin, a one-room log cabin. Um, and his dad died when he was quite young, so my great-grandmother, her name is Cassie, who I'm named after, raised him and his sister for a period of time while my grandmother got set up. So he is your typical backwater from the sticks, rose up, got a college education, all the things. Country boy, loves to hunt, loves to fish. Yeah, that's my dad. And he is from very Irish roots, hence my name Cassie. Um, and then my mom's side of the family is originally from New York. So they were immigrants from Italy. So my mom's half Italian. And yeah, he came down to Tennessee, my grandpa, and met my grandmother, and he was in the service and he settled in Winchester. And I think that's the majority of where my mom grew up, but he was an ATF officer
Wow.
after the military. And so it was so fun to see where he would bust up these gins, and when it was all bootleg liquor and it wasn't allowed,
Mm,
he was the one breaking it all up. Yeah, very Tennessean family. But yeah, it's interesting because I am an Air Force brat. My dad was in the Air Force. We moved every 3 to 4 years. I've lived in so many states across growing up in my life. And in fact, I've moved around a lot with my family, so we've never really, like, stayed in one little place ever.
right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, my parents were both born in Michigan, Detroit, but then they lived in Grosse Ile, Michigan, which is 3 miles wide, 9 miles long, just in the lake. I think it's, gosh, I should know the lake. Is it Lake Michigan? Probably, yeah, I think it's Lake Michigan. So that's where they grew up. And it's just this tiny island coastal community. And my mother grew up in a house that was like right on the canal. So they would fish for crayfish and just
Wow.
had boat out into all the little different islands because the Great Lakes feel like ocean to me. And they have all these other little islands there that have, white sandy beaches. And so, they grew up on the water.
Yeah.
And then my dad heard the song by John Denver, Rocky Mountain High, and he was a musician, so he grabbed his guitar and they hopped in the car and drove out to Colorado, and that's
And they
why I
just
was born
loved it
here.
and stayed?
Yep. Yeah, I think they wanted to get away from the Italian family epicenter, and
Oh,
so they just kinda
interesting.
wanted to it was the '70s, they were like, rebel,"
I
and
love it.
they just so my brother and I were born in Colorado, but I spent a lot of summers in my parents' hometown, and even though it's so humid, you can take a shower and it never takes, and there's bugs that eat you that you never see, but there's fireflies and just the water, being on boats and fish fries, and it was interesting. That was part of their culture, but also growing up in Colorado, hiking to to cut down the Christmas tree, like in, um, Christmas Vacation.
Yeah.
Totally. It was kind of the best of both worlds for them. So really cool.
Yeah.
But
That is
yeah.
neat. Interesting.
Well, everyone, I hope this was a helpful episode for you. Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to give us a review and rating wherever you listen to the podcast. It really helps us with visibility. Next week, we're actually taking a holiday break because it's Thanksgiving week and we want to all have you enjoy with your families as we will with ours, but still check in with the YouTube channel because we'll be posting some of our favorite table topics, tales, questions there just for some fun extra content. And we'll see you in December. Until then, keep writing, keep doing. Thanks. We'll see ya.
Thanks for joining today's episode of The Author Next Door. Be sure to like, follow, and tell us your thoughts of this week's episode. Angela and Cassie would love to hear from you.